All right, welcome to James and the Giant Economy. Right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to doing actually a real estate update. So this is going to be the first just real estate update. We're going to go big, then small first. If you have not heard, the U.S. has had its credit downgraded by Moody's. Now, the U.S. had it downgraded by another one. I think it was 2014 or 2017 or something like that. Didn't really hit the markets too hard. This one seems to be doing it quite a bit harder, and it's because of the tariff issues and because the big new bill is supposed to add 10 trillion in debt in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, something like that. So, um, well, we'll get into treasuries, house affects treasuries. All right, as we see, the 20-year treasury auction goes really badly, and that's one of the reasons why yields or the price to buy a house, the interest rate to buy a house is up quite a bit. Um, if for treasuries, the way they work is if there's not a lot of buyers, the price of the treasury goes down, but the yield or the interest rate goes up. Now, that's great if you're loaning money to the government, right? But if you're trying to buy a house or something like that, or a car on credit, or business credit or something like that, or have a credit card, that means your rate jumps up. So rates right now are in the, let's see here, 6.86 or just under 7. Now, if you have good credit, you can probably get a lower than that. If you got bad credit, you're looking at 7 plus. This is straight from Freddie Mac. Um, the 10-year right now, which is what a lot of it's based of, is about 4.5%, give or take. Um, TLT, which is the composite of the 10 and the 20 year, excuse me, 10 and the 30 year, or you can say a 20-year Treasury bond, is on its way down. It looks horrible right now. This is not good. What this means is that the value of bonds is going lower and the interest rates are spiking. This is the 2 year. This is typically what the Fed follows, right? Typically, and it's at 3.9, which means your interest rates should come down a bit, but the Fed has not really been following it that much. And typically, when you see a gap like that, it's going to close in. It's in a snap or something like that. So, what's going on? U.S. credit was downgraded. We had a really bad bond buying treasury. Mortgage rates heading up. I mean, yesterday they were 6.81. I think they've gone up 0.05%, which is kind of big in the mortgage market. What happens is what we've seen over the last few years is when rates are sub 6, buyers really start to come out and buy. When rates are above 6, they kind of stay home. We haven't seen rates at 7, I don't think, ever in our generation or a while. So we'll see what happens. But the good news about this is that I've talked to a lot of realtors and house flippers and stuff like that. And one of the things that they've all said is that sellers are starting to, and this is in Texas, but sellers are starting to soften up a bit, right? They'll say, hey, we'll pay for the closing costs. We'll do this. We'll pay, and some of them, depending on how badly they want to sell, are just throwing in quite a good incentive by paying for other things. They want to keep the house price high for their ego, probably, but they'll buy a bunch of other things, right? So it looks like the mortgage market is settling down, or excuse me, the housing market is settling down a bit. In fact, here's some notes that I've got that's happened. Active inventory, this is nationwide, by the way, is back up to its 2019 levels. There's been more supply added. All right, let me say that again. Active inventory is back to 2019 levels, so pre-pandemic levels, which is a 33% year-over-year increase. They've got about 90,000 new listings on an 8% year-on-year change, 74,000 new pending listings, or 8.3% year-over-year. Prices stay flat. The average home in America is about $400,000. Um, Now, what could help this, right? What could make the U.S. credit maybe not help the U.S. credit or help the Treasury bond market? What could make, let's see here, the 10-year actually go back up, or excuse me, the 10-year yield go back down, and the value of the bond, where'd it go? I think I closed out. Yeah, the value of the bonds go up. Honestly, a lot of people are talking about stable coins. So the Genius Act, which is good for stable coins, will actually help them to buy more treasuries because apparently stable coins buy a lot of treasuries. That's part of their plan or their game plan on to create stable coins versus to and attach it to the dollar. And so this could actually be something, if the Genius Act passes, this could actually be something that is really good for interest rates because then a lot of stablecoin companies would start to purchase bonds, whereas other nations and stuff are not. So that could help drive interest rates down. While we're talking about acts, the no taxes on tips act has passed. They did it as a single bill solo. It's not part of the big great deal or something like that, which actually passed. The big great deal passed in Congress. I think it was by one vote. It's going to go to the Senate and then for the president to sign. But the no tax on tips has passed. What I've read about that or understand about that is basically if you're tipped, you will not be taxed up to $25,000 a year, right? And this doesn't count like CEOs and stuff like that, so they can't pay themselves in tips per se. It is only for, kind of low minimum wage workers type thing, which will help them qualify if you're trying to get them a mortgage. So this is a little bit more. It turns out to be like about, if you do the math, if they're at a 30% tax bracket, what's the math? It's like a $8,000 a year savings or something like that, which is nice, especially for that that level of worker. And so those are good news if you're trying to get something qualified for a loan. So let's move on to some possibly good news or bad news. We'll see. Nationwide evictions filings are up, exceeding pre-pandemic levels in many cities, particularly in the Sun Belt and other areas with rising housing costs. Right. We're going to talk about Texas in general. Houston surpasses New York City in evictions. Again, new study says. Eviction court, and this is straight from the cron.com or click to Houston. Eviction courts are jammed in Harris County. I mean, evictions are going up. So are foreclosures. I was actually talking to a foreclosure attorney yesterday. It was a networking event. I'm not foreclosing any of mine yet. We'll see. Hopefully, I don't have to. But they were saying, hey, if foreclosures, they're seeing a rise in foreclosures. So if you are a real estate buyer, this is good for you because it will help put prices down. Remember all the inventory that we talked about? This is going to help add to that, and that will help push real estate prices down a bit so you can get better deals, right? If you're a lender, this will help because then when the price comes down, if the interest rates are high, you can help more people qualify for loans, right? This is going to hurt both of you, both realtors, lenders, investors, and everything, because these people that are getting evicted, they will most likely never get a loan in the next 7 years or so, right? Maybe 10, depending. Now, for owner finance, that could be a great deal, but this is going to play a really big role in things. Amid high rents, eviction filings in major Texas cities soars above pre-pandemic levels. So it's not just Houston; it is all of Texas, and I would say the U.S. is starting to see it. So with this, you got to keep in mind, Fed Powell. There's a few things to learn. Fed Powell might raise rates because the bonds are because the bonds auctions are not going well, right? How do you say, hey, we want more? How do you encourage people to buy your debt? Well, you raise the interest rate, which will raise the interest rate of all the homes and autos and everything else out there, right? So if you're a lender, I could say, hey, really encourage people to refi if they get a chance, type thing. If you're a realtor, same thing. Hey, use this to get people off the fence. If you're looking to buy a home, this inventory of evictions or and real estate for foreclosures that comes through, that's going to help maybe put some pressure on prices, maybe bring things down to a manageable area to where more people can buy. I know in real estate we never want the prices to go down, but we can make up for it if in volume, right? So if you can get more people approved for loans because the price came down even though the interest rate went up, that the math works out that way too for the monthly payment. And lastly, this is going to be let's talk about insurance. About two things. One, State Farm is raising insurance prices in California for homeowners. Homeowners is, they at first, they did 15 to 17%, 17% for homeowners, 15% for renters, and 38% for rental dwellings. So if you're a landlord in California and you have State Farm, it's going to hurt badly. badly. I just heard today that instead of 17% for homeowners, they want to raise it up to 28% as they originally wanted, and they're seeking permission to do that. So my point in saying this, I'm in Texas. Most of you are in Texas. We're kind of safe from this, but what a lot of times what happens in California can move across the U.S., right? So if it happens in California, a lot of times 6 to 12 months later, it's happening in Texas, or there's a likelihood of it. Now, this could be increased from the wildfires. This could be a one-off thing, but I don't know. I don't know yet if it's going to affect Houston, but I'm just telling you just to kind of keep in mind. Also, one thing that'll affect Houston and Texas in general is this. Had a friend send me this. This is their outlook for 2025 hurricanes. Now, at the end of May, we are a week away from technical flood season, right? Typically, it doesn't really flood that much before the hurricanes come through in September, October in Houston. But we have had Memorial Day floods and some other floods. So just always encourage flood insurance. You don't have to if you're in a zone X and you're not forced to have it. You can just pick a low amount, like 50 to 100,000, to get you something as opposed to nothing, right? If you're in Texas and you are interested about that, give me a call. I've got a sheet I can just send you to give you all the pricing. You choose one, and we'll get you situated. I will tell you this, it does take 30 days to take effect unless you're closing on the house, right? So if you buy today, it's going to take a month before it even starts. That is with all flood insurance, no matter where you're at, unless you are purchasing the home. All right, but for hurricane outlook for 2025, tropical storms, they're predicting 13 and 19. We'll say 16 as an average, or 14, excuse me, as an average. Hurricanes 6 to 10. And this is towards Houston, by the way. So 7 average. Major hurricanes 3 to 5. So that would be something. What is the difference between these three? Tropical storm is something where there's lots of storms but no wind. Hurricanes, you hit a certain wind level, right? And major hurricanes, you get names that people don't forget. Okay, those are kind of the differences between the three. Now, why is this? I'll show you. So this is the reason why they say there's an active African monsoon wave train, low wind shear in the Atlantic Basin, not just so we won't push them away, right? And above average sea surface temperatures, because hurricanes are created when basically cool meets hot and they swirl together, and they create a lot of force, right? So and a lot of the hurricanes that hit the Gulf do come from Africa. It's kind of like a butterfly effect, right? Someone sneezes in Africa too loud, like Houston gets a hurricane, Houston or Florida gets a hurricane or something. I hope they're wrong. Now, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, it's a weather guy, right? How often are they right? And I'm hoping they're not right at all, because right now where homeowners where insurance in general in Texas is right now, is autos we're seeing go down. So if you're listening to this and your auto insurance has not gone down, give us a call. We will get you situated. I'll put my information below, but give us a call. We'll help you out, because my personal went down about 13%, right? Yours should too. So autos are on their way down price-wise. Homes are starting to stabilize price-wise, but what we're seeing really right now is we're seeing areas open up. So in other words, carrier insurance companies that said, hey, we're not writing in this part, we're closed, right? And they've gotten permission from the state to do so. They're saying, okay, we're going to open up we're going to start writing business in these zip codes. Okay. What that is, that's the first step to them opening up more, and then more competition comes in, and then pricing starts to fall. We could see that, and I'm hoping 12 to 18 months, maybe 24, we'll see at the latest. But if we have a very bad hurricane season, well, all that goes out the window, right? So that is your update. If you liked it, like and subscribe. If you are sad about your insurance, if you feel like you're paying too much, or you feel like your rate is not right for you, or you just want to say, hey, I want to see if I can have some savings, take my wife and family out to dinner, or in fact a vacation, because the last person we just quoted, we saved $3,000 a year, and that's kind of a vacation, right? Give us a call, shoot us an email. I'll put my information down, and I'll see you in the next video.